All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's webinar on optimizing your shop in real time with SDS2 and Steel Projects. My name is Laura Sinclair. I've been with SDS2 for about 10 years now. I am the Global Solutions Specialist. I started in support for about 5 years, and now I work mainly on the video content portion for all of our videos on SDS2. And then also I help run all of the webinars.
Yes, and I'm Reg Lacasse. I've been with Steel Projects for nearly 12 years. I'm now taking on the role as North American Support Manager, and I'm involved with sales as well.
All right, we're going to go ahead and turn off our cameras. So today we're going to cover a little bit about SDS2. Steel Projects will tell you a little bit about what they do. And then we'll talk about the integration between SDS2 and Steel Projects, along with the demo, and then we'll have a live Q&A at the end. So SDS2's mission, we want to set the standard of excellence for software solutions in the structural steel industry with absolute reliability and customer-driven innovation and collaboration. So I just wanted to start off the webinar with SDS2's mission. This is key when we work with our partners and continue our webinars. A little bit about us. We are part of the Nemetschek group. We have about 16 brands. You might be most familiar with RISA or Bluebeam as our sister companies. And SDS2 is really focused on automating steel detailing to make you a better detailer and make it easier for fabrication. Here's some of the products that are offered in SDS2, but today we're going to be focusing on the SDS2 detailing. So to satisfy today's construction requirements, 3D steel detailing tools are essential. There are a few choices out there, but the automated tools provided by SDS2 enable you to do more, such as you can detail more steel in less time, produce cleaner drawings from the start, deliver a constructible model, which you'll see that's going to be helpful because I'll be sending an IFC to Steel Projects, win bids and BIM projects. And something that sets SDS2 different from anyone else is our intelligent automation of steel connection design. The SDS2 3D model is your interface to effectively deliver on-time, accurate steel connections, drawings, and data for fabrication. SDS2 has hundreds of connections that can be automatically applied to your model. These go through calculation checks to make sure that they pass the design code that you chose. You can also see what it's going to look like in the field to avoid erectability issues. Then you can send the model with all of the connections in an IFC model to Steel Projects for fabrication. The key is collaboration with our partners. So at SDS2, we know that you have to meet project requirements with speed and accuracy. And the best way for us to help you deliver is to partner with key construction technologies to make it your job easier. So that's why we decided to partner with Steel Projects. This will help you become better detailers and fabricators and make your job easier. I'm going to pass this over to Reg, and he will talk a little bit about Steel Projects, and then we'll go into our demo.
Okay, so thanks a lot, Laura, for passing it over to me. So I'll discuss a little bit about the Steel Projects part of the interface. So just a little background of Steel Projects. Essentially, we are a production management software that is focused on the steel fabricators in the steel industry. We manage basically all types of machines and manual workstations. This can range from saws to copers to drilling to angle lines and so forth. We also have a focus on just doing feedback from welding, quality control, painting, and shipping stations. So we can set up any machine as a manual workstation or as an automatic workstation. We have been the software division with the FiStrip group for nearly 10 years now, since about 2012. And this has been an ongoing relationship. We are located pretty much all over the world with many offices, satellite offices. Our head office is in France, and then we have a few satellite offices in North America, Brazil, Spain, and Italy. We have surpassed over 2,000 customers worldwide. And as some people may know, Steel Projects has been around for over 25 years, starting in 1994, and then making the full collaboration with the FISEC Group in 2012. We have grown to about 41 people. When I started about 12 years ago, there was about 10 or 11 people. So that just shows how much we have grown and expanded within the company. And we are part of the Microsoft partner. Some of our solutions, one of the main features of Steel Projects is that we're a one software with a whole bunch of modules inside. So these modules can expand out with the licenses. So it's one install and then everything expands from there. We optimize the link between your detailers and the workshop. So we are the middleman to bring in the drawings and then produce all the nestings and for the machines and gathering the feedback. And as you can kind of see that here with this screen, we have we can talk with ERPs, with the detailing software, or we bring in the P&Is from other nesting softwares, MISs, and then we focus on the MES part of the software. We do offer an advanced linear nesting software where we take into account what the actual machines can do. So not only we just nest the pieces, but we also rotate the beams so that we common cut miters, and then we try to join copes so that you're only doing one probing sequence for the copes on two pieces. We are very similar to the MIS, but we have more of a focus on the machines versus just using the numbers to do the nesting. And then we, as I was mentioning a little earlier, we have many interfaces that bring in from detailing, DSTV, DXF, STEP, as we'll see in this presentation, the IFC with SDS2 and some XMLs. We also have the P&I format to link up with external ERPs. We have done several unique and customized interfaces for specific clients over the years, and we can always expand and develop some if needed. So PLM, as you can see here, it shows that you have it on your computer, you can have it on a tablet, and you can even have it on your phone. The tablet and the phone are namely used for the workshop assistant, which is the feedback portion of the software. Each of our modules are expanded out into about 15 different modules. I'm not going to go through all these. You can definitely check these out on our website at www.steelprojects.com, and then they'll give you a breakdown of each and every module that you see here. But typically the flow goes from your CAD through our software to the nesting, and then out to the machines and shipping, and then from there we get the feedback and traceability. Today we'll be focusing in on these 6 items. So we're going to focus on importing the ISC. Then I'll show you a little bit about some of the checks we can do, discuss the project manager as well as the production manager, and we'll do some section nesting and plate nesting as well.
Jumping into my demo, I'm going to show the speed, accuracy, and reliability of SDS2. So I'll start off by adding in my beam. I can quickly add in my section size and then pick my points. It's reading from my setup on what I want the connection to be in this specific framing situation, so you can see I have a clip angle, but maybe I want to change that to a shear connection. You'll see that it automatically previewed over on the right hand side. And now maybe I want to add in a welded moment connection. On the left side, you'll see the connections passed in my limit states. You'll see that I have rat holes for my moment connection, and then I also looked at the other members framing into that column as well. So I have the beam stiffeners and web doublers. In 2021, we can look at the expanded calculations inside of a PDF, and then you'll see I opened this in Bluebeam. I can easily go for browsing purposes to my right end of my connection. And you can see all the expanded calculations that took for this connection to pass. Another thing that will be passed in the IFC is if I want to add some plate work to this beam. I'm going to add in a web penetration with stiffeners because maybe I have some piping going through that beam. There's a lot of different options that I could choose from, but in this case, I'm going to add the stiffeners vertical and horizontal for that web penetration. Now maybe I want to add in a couple outriggers as well. I'm going to change this to the near side, and also I will pick my spacing. Taking a look at these, I'll be able to define in Steel Projects the layout scribing for these options as well. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is add in our new flush frame joists. I want to make sure that I have my joist modifier on when I add in these joists so that they're at the top of beam. And then I'll just quickly add in this one. Then I have a flush frame shear as my option. And then instead of adding in multiples, I'm just going to go ahead and copy this up. So now taking a look at this, when I send that to Steel Projects, you'll see all of the shear tabs are added onto these beams. And then Reg can make modifications to that. Now that I have everything, I can export this IFC file. I'll want to select everything that I want included in that IFC. And then I do want to select this to an EM11 IFC 2x3. And now I'm able to send this over to Reg, and he can show you what it looks like in Steel Projects.
So just a quick little introduction on what I'll show in my demo. As Laura was showing earlier, she showed the export of the IFC from the SDS software. In the past, this was typically a DSTV export, but now as the industry evolves, so does exporting the files. And as I was kind of saying, the IFC is more standard and advanced format, and it is compatible with BIM. Advantages compared to the DSTV format, it is basically one file for the full project. You can break it down into sequences and phase. You get the full structure of the components. This involves the contract, the phase and sequence, the assembly, and the actual components. We also can show the 3D graphics of this, which you'll see in the demo. as I'm showing right here, you have the 3D visualization, and then you have the ability to see all the project information. And then you can then bring in all the scribing as well and customize that scribing, as you can see in the graphics in the lower right-hand corner. So here is the PLM software, just to kind of show you a little brief view of what we have. Here are some older projects that I have, and I've just done a metric building and imperial building, and we'll actually show you the import of the file, the IFC file. So the import, you can see that I've, as I briefly talked about before, you can have different setups, but we'll select the IFC for today. And then you select the file in question. Basically, you select the folder, you have all your files, and then you can green light, red light on which ones you want to import. Once the import is complete, you can see it here under the project. So it's been added here, and to the left you'll see a little icon here stating that this project has not been checked. So what we can do in Steel Project software is that we can do some feasibility checks. We check for drilling operations, we check for scribing, we can check for copes and so forth. Basically, from here, if you have a check park option, you can also do other types of checks. So you can add auto marks if you like. You can change to drilling. You can convert some of the items to scribing. And then you can also add the scribing based on the welds and the information from the 3D model that SDS2 has provided for us. So if we just kind of look at the actual project itself quickly, it breaks it down into one phase, or some people call this a sequence or a lot. And then you have the assembly mark, and in here you can see 3D graphics of the welds and so forth. So if we kind of look at B17 here, there's only one piece, I guess, in that one. But you can see all the different stiffeners, and then in some examples there'll be clips. And then this actually breaks it down into the components itself. So you can get nice 3D images of all your pieces, and you can add all the scribing based on this assembly. So if we add the scribing, it looks at where this all joins, and then we can customize the scribing as well. So if we do tools, add scribing, you can see here we can adjust all the parameters based on the user preference. So once all that is kind of set up, you can do the check part, click all parts, and it kind of just scans through the different setups that we've had in the configuration. So right now it's checking drilling, it's checking scribing, it's checking any macros. It's also checking lead cuts as well. And you can see, for example, it's flagged an issue. So that's not a bad thing, because that gives you, the user, awareness before. So we can quickly come to the parts, and you can organize by your columns here. So if I just organize it and then scroll to the bottom, you can see all my pieces. So it's just the one piece that actually had a warning, not necessarily an issue. And if you hold the mouse over it, it kind of just tells you, gives you some details. So you can right click on that. As we know, it's just it's a warning about the drill holes being close to the edge, and you can just go validate part. And then it just tells you afterwards that this has been validated by the user. So these are all very handy tools to see prior to actually sending it to the machine, so it doesn't air out at the machine. You can fix it in the office if needed prior to. So we'll now move into kind of the actual production manager portion of the software and the linear nesting and plate nesting. So we can select pieces individually. You can select it, grab a group, or in this case, I'm just going to grab the whole project and drag and drop it down. From here, we select our send to production and we press action. So here is where we see the production workflow of a typical setup or workplace. You can see that they have many different machines. You have a coping station, assembly station, and a welding station as well. And you can also do, you can export to DXF or DSTV. And basically the routes are assigned by the profile, and you can set up these profile groups ahead of time. And then from here, you can move the pieces around if you want to. So default, it has picked some paths based on the pieces and the shapes. And then from here, we can go into our linear nesting. So the good thing about this is that you have these different groups. It's all done on the same machine in this setup, but you can bring in multiple profiles at the same time. You don't have to focus profile by profile. You could always bring in stock from the Steel Projects module for stock and purchasing. And by doing so, you can click here, stock, and it will link to that module. We can also bring in stock from an Excel file, or we can just add it all manually if you like. For demo purposes, we'll just use our deliverable lengths. So we can click on automatic, and you can set up your different deliverable lengths ahead of time. So press and go here, basically it's now just doing the math to create all the bars for you. It's trying to optimize for the least amount of scrap, and it will try to comment cut miters where they are and so forth. So you can see that below you have a 2D graphics as well as the 3D graphics of the piece. And you can see it adds all the curves for you, and it will adjust the holes accordingly. We also have reports that can be visible. So if you take a look here, this is a summary of what we have nested earlier. You have this with barcodes. So if you have a scanner, you can scan these and it will process the beams. It gives you an idea of what pieces are in each and every bar, the remnants, what lengths, and so forth. We also have some other road reports that can be very handy. You have a summary, so this could be used for finding out how much scrap you have for this project. It could be used for estimating and costs, as well as you have a report for your stock. So if you need to purchase and so forth, or you can use this as a pick list for the guy that drives a forklift and he brings all the material to the machines. Once the nesting is completed, then you can just quit out of here and it'll bring us back to the production workflow. So here we are back in the workflow. So we've done all the bar nesting. So you can see here on the right which bars have been nested. There are a couple here that were not nested, and this is because they exceeded the length allowed. So you would have to manually nest those or do a cut to length. We'll quickly do the same thing for plate nesting. So plate nesting is very similar to the bar nesting, but now it's just two-dimensional. Again, like bar nesting, you can bring in stock from the PLM stock management, or if you have offcuts that are saved, and at the same time, you can also create your remnants or offcuts, maybe to use up some excess stock that you guys have floating around the workshop. For this, we'll just kind of use the deliverable lengths and we'll do the nesting of the 3/8. So when we import all the plates, it does separate it out by thickness, as you can see here, so that you nest thickness by thickness. So here we have the first kind of part of the nesting. Basically, this is the focus on placing the pieces. You can manually bring all the pieces on. However, for the most part, people like the auto button. Click auto, and it kind of places all the pieces here. So you can see this is a typical nesting, and what it tries to do is just optimize for scrap and material. After I've nested the first sheet, you can still see that I have a few pieces that weren't nested. So we can grab a different sheet. You have different sizes based on your deliverable lengths. Click here and grab a new sheet, and then we fill up that sheet as well. So here you can see that it added in a remnant because we can use this for later as well. We now go into what we call the Pathfinder, which is where we will focus on the cutting sequences, adding bridges, and so forth. So it opens up the window here. You have the first plate, and you kind of just step through the process. It's just asking you, okay, it's found that it has 13/16 drills on this plate. And then here you can kind of go through the marking, the drilling, and then the actual cutting. So as I was mentioning here, is you can modify the way if you like, you can move the starting points, you can create bridges, and so forth, and comment cut if you wanted to as well. So we'll just save, and then depending on the machine, it could ask for certain questions if you want to do oxy or plasma. If you want the internal cuts to be the same as the external cuts. And then this question is just based on the machine itself, so not all machines have this. We'll turn that one off. So we have the first plate done, and now we can do the second plate. And it's basically more or less the same process. Here again, you can see the marking and the cutting. Once we're completed this part here, we can now come back and we can look at the reports. So here we'll just generate, I'll just focus on this report actually. We'll just generate this report. And you can see here it is adding a unique remnant ID, so that when we do cut this off, this remnant will get saved into the database and it can be used for other 3/8 thickness plates. And here is an example of the report that we generate. So it gives you all the dimensions, it tells you what the remnant number is, what pieces are on the nested plate, as well. You can also give machine time estimations. So we can set the resources to adjust for the cutting speeds, scribing if there was scribing on these pieces, and so forth, drilling. We could have simply have just done a print all. We didn't have to go what we just did there to save some time. You just do print all and it generates all the files for you. Once you're finished with the nesting, we press quit. And this brings us back to the production workflow again. And if we kind of scroll over here, there should now be some other pieces that have been nested. Once all this is completed, we just press action and this sends everything out to production. So now it's sending all the files out to the machines to be produced. And you can see here that it's changed the progress bars. So if we just highlight here, you can see that about 40% of your job has been sent. So it's spreads out by quantity and weight, but most of the weight has been also sent. And then there's produce, assemble, and weld it. So if we look at another job here, you can see that as you get feedback from the machines and from the manual workstation using our workshop assistant, you can track all of the progress of the pieces throughout your workshop. If we take one of these older projects that I have here, you can right click and do analysis, and you can get some nice graphical displays of the progression of the pieces through your workshop. Summary, you can spread it out by nesting, so each nesting job. You can spread it out by your assemblies, so you can see here when some pieces are available to be assembled. So not all jobs you might have them produced, but it's not until this is green that you have enough pieces to do the actual assembly. You have a parts here, so it kind of shows you where they are in your workflow. Some of the other features with feedback and workshop assistant is you can see how much tooling operations have been done. So this is kind of like drilling and cutting based on the parts and the jobs themselves. You can also see who did them. And then operations would be like maintenance and cleaning. So you can see who has done the maintenance and when and so forth. So these are some other features that production manager has with our software. So that is the demo of the PLM software.
All right, thank you for that, Reg. Now we will open this up for some live Q&A.
Okay. This is Reg with Steel Projects again. I'm reading a couple questions that have come in from a few of the viewers. One of the questions is, do you come to the shops and give demos on how you could help our shop? So we do demos for certain. We can set up either with TeamViewer or Zoom meetings. We can definitely do them remotely. And then there are times where we have come on site to see your shop on site and what we can do for you guys to help out and so forth. Another question that I see here is asking about individual reports or lists for different shops. Yes, we do customize our reports. We do have about 50 generic reports in the software already. However, we use Crystal Reports to do the reports. So basically, if there's any customizations or if you would like to have a unique report for your company, we can do so as well. Another question that I see here is asking about edge starting with, I'm going to assume that's with the plate nesting. So yes, we do some edge starting. It just kind of depends on the nesting itself. We kind of do it like a point start, and we do common cutting as well.
I also see, what type of IFC can you send over? You would send an EM11 file to Steel Projects. And then, will this webinar be available if you missed a portion of it? Yes, we will put that on our YouTube channel, and it will also be on our website as well.
Okay. Yeah, there's a few more here. Another one is about asking about barcodes and for pieces and scanning them for shipping. Yes, we do. The answer is we do barcoding, so we can have individual pieces have their own barcodes and so forth, so we can track it throughout your workshop and out to shipping as well. We do have a shipping module. Another good question here is, can it be connected to other brands of equipment other than FICEP? And the answer is yes. We do work with all types of CNC machines. So basically, if we don't already have a post processor set up, we would analyze what your machine or the machine that's requested. We would get some programs, do some development if required, and so forth. So the answer is yes, we work with all types of CNC machines, whether they're automatic or manual stations. So another question here is, does Steel Projects show the dimensions of each part to allow for check-in? Yes, all the dimensions are shown when you import, so you can compare all those as well when you import them. They'll show the lengths, and it'll show all the miters, copes, locations of drill holes, and so forth. The IFC import, the question here is there additional cost? So yes, the IFC import is its own unique license. So there is an additional cost to add this to your system if needed. This question I'm not 100%. So the question is this cross synced so that as members are fabricated, painted, loaded, delivered, it will automatically update the status of the detailing model if the model is shared? Yeah, so actually, okay, now I read it, I understand this a bit more. So we do the feedback. So as we get whether it's manual feedback using our workshop assistant or automatic feedback from some of the machines, as that comes in, Steel Projects will update the progress bars. So the last part of my webinar there, it was showing you the different colors on the pieces going out to the machines and then coming back, from welding, assembly, painting, and you can even have shipping as well. I don't know if Laura, you want to add anything, if we can bring that into SDS itself?
Yeah, I think they might be asking if they can update the status of their members inside of our SDS2 model. So I think they're asking if there's currently a way to get the information back into SDS2.
Yeah, it looks like a few other people asked the same question.
Yeah. I think that might be something that we might need to talk about a little bit, but currently I'm not sure that there's a way that that information gets back into SDS2.
So there's a question about bent plates. So we do import bent plates, so we can cut them on the table and then they had to be bent afterwards. But I'm not too certain if the question was asking if we send to a bending machine.
Let's see.
There's quite a few questions here. So
I know. Yeah.
Another question here is, does the IFC have to go directly into PLM from SDS, or can it be accessed through EPM? So the IFC is specific import for PLM. So yeah, you export the IFC and then you import it into PLM. For the EPM, the one that I know of is with Tekla. So that might be the webinar that's coming up.
Yeah, and then you can get the information back into SDS2 that way. Are the barcodes a sticker?
The barcode's a sticker. Yeah, you can print them out onto labels, so you can stick them onto your pieces. So hopefully that answers that cost. The shop floor feedback from PLM, so that's the workshop assistant. So it can be used on tablets, it can be used on Android phones, and then some machines just have automatic link with the SQL database, so it feeds back automatically.
Let's see.
There's a question about being compatible with the UK standards. UK standards, I'm assuming the profiles is what is being asked. So basically, our software was developed in Europe, and then it expanded out to North America. So we handle all European profiles. I'm fairly certain that would be the same with SDS2, but Laura, if you want to comment on that.
Yep. Yeah, we handle UK profiles as well. So, how do you track steel that goes to galvanizing?
So for us, so that's part of the shipping module. So we can set up a link to ship it out to galvanization, and then it gets received back to our software. So it tracks that as well, the traceability, and when it's gone to galvanize and when it comes back, and then you can ship it out to on site afterwards. So there are setups that we do in our software to track that.
How do we contact sales to introduce our fabricator partners to this? We can get you in touch with Reg. There's his information up there. Along with, we can get you in touch with their sales reps as well. Trying to go through all these questions here. There's quite a few. Layout. Does this manage finishes?
So manage finishes. I'm not understanding what finishes mean. I'm assuming is it like painting?
Yeah,
like
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Terry. Yes, for sure we can handle that. So we can bring in the different paints and the different colors and stuff like that. And then the same thing, we can track it going to a painting station, or if you send it out to another company to do your painting, you can track it when it gets shipped to be painted and when it comes back.
Okay.
Yeah, Terry, you had pretty much the same question about bolts on the ISC. I will have to let me look into that. Or unless Laura, you know about the bolts and stuff like that.
I think they're saying, how does it handle the bolts with the IFC import? So do you guys import the bolts on your end then?
Yeah, well, that's what the part. I'll just double check that, and I can get back to him on that.
All right, it's kind of slowing down a little bit.
Yeah.
And then if you guys have any more questions, we can always go ahead and email us. You can email support@sds2.com, or we have Reg's information up there as well, support@steelprojects.com or info@steelprojects.com as well.
Actually, one last question came in here from Jonathan. His question is about manual production stations requiring individual license for production feedback. So what we have there is the workshop assistant. So essentially, it's kind of like you do have to have a license for each workshop assistant, but you can share it throughout your workshop. So it depends on how many tablets you want to have and how many concurrent people you want to do feedback at the same time. So the answer is yes and maybe no in the sense. Just depends on how many users you want at the same time.
All right, perfect. Well, thanks again, Reg, for doing this as well. And
For
again,
sure. And thanks again, Laura.
Yeah, again, if you guys have any questions, you can email support@sds2.com or support@steelprojects.com as well. So thanks again for everyone for joining us, and have a good day.